You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody. Hi, and welcome back to Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, or as it now is, Mighty Blue on the Camino de Santiago for the next 4 or 5 weeks. My niece Emma and I are hiking the Camino de Santiago, having a blast doing it, and we really are thoroughly enjoying the whole thing. I'd intended to add in some interviews with people, and frankly, people aren't that interested, which is fair enough. They don't want to do it. I don't blame them. And I'm not going to ruin their hike if they don't want to do it. I've asked a couple of people, and they just said they weren't really interested. And I'm just going to see how this goes. And if I run into somebody who wants to do it, I will. Otherwise, I'm just going to give you reports from Emma and I on this. So first off, we're going to start with day number 7. And it was only Monday, 2 days ago. And I have no recollection of what happened on Monday. So my between... day reports will sound like I have no idea what I've done, and it will be right because I don't. So let's hear day 7. Day 7, we had a bit of ground to make up. We were still in Estella from the previous day, so we got back through the town and tried to get back to where we'd had breakfast the day before. Which was that place called Namaste, which we loved, but unfortunately it was closed at 7:30 in the morning, which is a bit of a drag, I must admit. Our plan was to get to Los Arcos, which was about 13 or 14 miles away, something like that. But we sort of had in our mind we might be able to get a little bit further, and we'll see how it goes. I want to backtrack actually to yesterday. I reported way too soon because we stopped in Estella, so we weren't going to hike anymore that day. But we found a restaurant which gave us a great crab salad, some duck in a gorgeous cherry sauce, and a whiskey tart plus a bottle of wine between the two of us. It was absolutely glorious. But while that was great, I went back to the hotel and just slept because I was exhausted. Slept for a couple of hours, and Em and I sort of texted each other. She was a couple of floors above me. We texted each other. We may or may not go down for a quick drink in the bar. And I think we were deciding not to go down when suddenly she texted me again. She was stuck in the lift. She'd pressed the button to go down to the ground floor, and the lift had stopped on the 3rd floor. She thought somebody was going to get in, but nobody did get in. And she contacted me. I ran out there because she was on the floor that I was on, and it was kind of frightening actually because you don't really know what's going to happen. But she was in there for an hour, which was a real drag for her. Obviously, she didn't enjoy it. She wasn't happy with it. Eventually, we got her out, and but she did take a photograph of herself in the elevator, so that was funny. But anyway, this morning we were okay. We headed out, having found our breakfast place the previous day closed. We stopped at a gas station outside. The Camino kind of comes towards Estella, just touches it a bit, then circles south again, and doesn't really go through the town too much. But there was a gas station near the top. We went in there, had a coffee and a make-up-your-own sandwich by getting some bread, which was beautifully fresh bread. I had ham and she had cheese. So we were on our way. Now, we also knew that there was a wine fountain somewhere on the Camino. We didn't actually know where it was. And it turned out it was just out of Estella. So about 8:30, 9 o'clock, we came upon this wine fountain. And people either were just having a little sip or something. Some are actually filling up their water bottles with wine, which you could do because you literally turn the tap and wine would come out. Emma and I use because on the back of our packs, and back of most people here's packs, we have a shell, which we bought actually at keep forgetting the name, Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. And we took it off the back of our packs and we filled up our shells with wine and we drank out of those shells. It was a lovely thing, a really nice kind of thing to do. I really enjoyed it. But then there was a steady climb for the first 4 or 5 miles, but nothing too onerous, and I realised my legs were actually getting stronger. The day's rest must have helped us. Em's ankle was still a bit painful, but she was certainly getting stronger. Once again, with a few towns and a few pit stops along the way, it kind of fueled us, and those rests really help break up the day. You know, you get there are people there you know. You get yourself a beer, a coffee, or a sandwich, or just something. Just hang out and talk to people. And even on the way into Los Arcos, which was our original ambition for the day, there was a mobile bar, which is a lovely concept, where people were hanging out there, had a couple of beers there. No, we had a beer there as well. And then headed into Los Arcos. We got to Los Arcos about 3 o'clock, and we knew it was still quite early, and we'd done 12.5 miles, 12 point something miles, maybe nearly 13. And there was another 4.5, I think it was, to... what's it called now? I have no idea. That's right, it's Torres del Rio. And actually, that's where I'm recording right now, Torres del Rio, because we made it. Lovely level path, very easy, very enjoyable. Though it was a beautiful sunny day after the pouring rain yesterday. And we got to Torres del Rio, found ourselves in an albergue, which is a lovely little place called Casa Mariela. And we've got, let me think, there's about 8 bunks in the room. No, about 5 or 6 bunks in the room. And so there are about 8 or 10 of us in there. But it's very open. Showers were decent. We've had a shower and cleaned up. We've eaten so much we don't really need much. And we're going to get a beer and just hang out. So that's it. That's the end of day 7. We're still feeling pretty strong. We're now less than the day behind people in front. We're going to try to either go to Logroño tomorrow or even further, and then we'll be up to date. Okay? Bye. So that was day 7, and I remember day 8 very well. It was a beautiful, beautiful day, and I'm going to share that with you in a second. But before I do, I just want to apologise to Kelly, that American guy who did actually do an interview with me. I stupidly left it. I didn't put it on airplane mode, my phone on airplane mode. So I'm doing all this on my phone right now, and I think it sounds generally okay, but if I don't put it on airplane mode and it starts searching for Wi-Fi and emails come in, it makes a noise. So I apologise to Kelly for that. Hopefully it didn't ruin your enjoyment of the interview. But here's day number 8. Day 8, Tuesday the 16th of October. We spent the night in an albergue, and we were sharing with 8 others. Nobody was especially noisy, but I had a really, really lousy night's sleep. I didn't think I slept at all. But apparently a French girl commented to Emma that my snoring was so funny, so I guess I must have dropped off for a while. I guess that's the thing with snoring, isn't it? You really don't know when you're doing it yourself. But I really didn't think I slept. The following morning, we were delayed a bit, which was a bit of a drag because when Emma had done the laundry the previous night, put it in the washing machine, the woman who gave her the money and explained how to do it didn't tell her she was going to lock up straight away. So our wet laundry was in the washing machine all night, and Em had to get up in the morning at 7:15 when it opened, or 7 o'clock, and put it back in. But, it got dried anyway, so it wasn't too much of a problem. And it still wasn't light when we set off. We set off in the kind of Vegas of light. And we saw the sun rise, and it sort of shoots light across the landscape in sort of golds and browns and greens. And I remember when I was doing the AT, I used to love the morning light. It'd come in at angles and really light up the trees in different ways and sort of dance through the trees. But in this place, as we're not walking through trees, it just lights up the fields and so on, and the mountains. And so you can see these different lights in the same way. But morning, and in fact evening light, is the best light for me. And of course, then I was taking loads and loads of pictures, and they really, really, really slowed us down. I was taking out my camera every, 20, 30 yards, something like that. I also tried out my stick pick, and I don't know whether you've seen this, probably a lot of you have. It's one of these little devices you can fit onto the end of your trekking poles and use as a kind of long-distance selfie stick. So as you're walking along, your arm moves, obviously, as you're moving. You'd be surprised what a really stable picture appears. It's like somebody's walking back on the track filming you. And I really, really enjoy that. We set our sights on this day on Logroño and yet another hotel. Emma appears very happy to rough it for one night, just as long as she can stay somewhere decent the following night. And Logroño being a large city, we thought there's a good chance we'd find somewhere decent to stay. On the climb out of Torres del Rio, we could see Logroño in the distance. It was surprising, actually. It looked impossibly close, and I actually wondered if it was in fact Logroño. But from then on, the day was all about sort of dips into a kind of canyon, then climbs up and out to see the town before dropping back down again. A few mobile bars have been set up, neither of which we passed by without at least a coffee. One guy spends a couple of months in the summer at one of these places, and he's surrounded by these cairns, those piles of stones that lead the way. He said that the cairns used to show the way in the Camino until those ubiquitous shells came along sometime in, I think he said, in the 80s. He didn't actually use the word ubiquitous, and I wouldn't have understood it if he said it in Spanish. He was playing really chilled music, so Em and I just hung out with him quietly. It was a really cool place. We stopped in Viana, V-I-A-N-A, for a beer, and there was a beautiful, beautiful square, totally ruined by the pounding of those flipping stone drillers. They're obviously making some repairs, which it looks like it sorely needs. And frankly, after a beer, we were happy to get away. The path into Logroño was, and it went on for about, 3-4 miles. It was right by a road. It was straight. It was flat. It was on a sort of sub road, as it were. It was the worst part of the hike so far. I didn't enjoy it at all. But when we eventually got there, we headed for the centre and we were looking for hotels. I'd found one on Google that cost 69 euros. Not bad at all. It was very clean and very chic in an old stone palace. And the guy at reception totally hooked us up with a great lunch spot called Passion Porti, Passion Porti. We had another blowout lunch that sent me to sleep for a few hours. Now, Emma wants to finish a little earlier than we first thought. She wants to get back home to see her kids before she starts work again. So I've calculated now that to finish in the next 25 days, we need to average 15.45 miles a day. I don't know whether that's possible, to be honest with you. My feet are quite sore right now, and that means no zeros. But she seems she wants to do it, and I'm happy to accommodate her if that's what she wants to do. I used to do this on the AT. I'd work out the number of miles to go. Then once I knew the miles, the number of days I wanted to finish, I'd divide one by the other, and that was the number of days I needed to do each day. Then every day I'd record, say, if for example, we do, say, 17 miles today, we got a 1.55 mile credit. If we do 13, we've got a 2.45 mile credit. All the time knowing what your mileage is. It really helps you plan your day. So we're going to try that and see how that works. But last night we didn't do anything at all. We both stayed in our respective rooms. I watched a movie on Netflix, and it's now the beginning of day, God knows what it is. Whatever the day after today is. It's the beginning of day 9. It's Wednesday, October the 17th when I'm doing this. All right. And you're going to hear about that day in a minute. Done. So, as you heard, we've set ourselves a target. November the 10th, which means 25 days hiking to go, averaging 15.45 miles a day. This is starting to become a more ambitious schedule than I was really thinking of. But I'm going to try it, and we're going to try it. And we'll get there if we can. If we can't, well, that's kind of the way it goes, I guess. But let's see how we did when we started this on day 9. This morning, this is day 9. We were hoping to go from Logroño to Nájera, which was 18 miles today, and We weren't sure how well we'd do, but I'm actually recording this sitting in a park in front of our auberge in Najera, right by a bridge, and there's traffic going by and there's water rushing by, so hopefully you're going to hear this. We started off following the gut hooks app as we always do, and suddenly we were detoured, and I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to be walking further than we intended to walk. And I don't know how new it is, but they put a beautiful park together for the exit in Logroño, and it really is wonderful. You walk through this lovely pathway, nicely sloped sides all around you. It must be wonderful for the people of Logroño to use, to walk and to run and to cycle. So they've got these beautiful trails for residents that double as an exit trail for peregrinos. Logroño clearly wants to avoid smelly hobos on its streets much more than they need to be. And along with a bunch of other people, Emma and I, headed out after breakfast this morning. We had a lovely breakfast in the hotel, and eggs and some meat and cheese and coffees and all that sort of normal stuff you get in a decent hotel. So we were pretty pleased with that on the way out. Unlike the day before, it was misty with low cloud, and it showed the importance, and I've said this before, of taking the views when you can. I don't know whether you remember, but yesterday we'd gone out and the beautiful sunlight was piercing through everything and just lighting everything up. Today it didn't. It was misty and cool, probably about 50 degrees, which is 10 degrees centigrade, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. But I loved it. It was really nice. And this lovely trail and through a park took us along tree line avenues and around this huge lake. And we had a red squirrel that kept our attention for about 10 minutes as we watched him drinking from the lake and getting up really, really close. And I took a really nice picture of this red squirrel. We were heading for our first break at Navarrete. We really wanted to get the miles started. That old adage of getting 10 by 12. 10 miles in by midday. I hadn't really specifically thought about that, but our first break was going to be at Navarrete, and we were really up for a beer because we hadn't stopped for those 7 or 8 miles into Navarrete, and we tend to stop, well, frankly, whenever we come to a bar, and we don't always have a beer, but we have a coffee often, but we often have a beer as well. And we made the absolute schoolboy error of all schoolboy errors by passing the first bar that we ran into in Navarrete. Because we figured, as with every other town, there were going to be several more ahead. And the reason we figured that, because it was indicated on this huge map at the entrance to the village. Had we actually looked closely at the map, the Camino passed just this first bar and no others. Suddenly, having wandered through the town, we were on the other side of town and utterly beerless and breakless. Now, Emma was less than enthusiastic about this, and she proceeded to tell me somewhat expressively. And her knees were hurting, and we were getting tired, and it just got worse and worse, really. But as always, there is absolutely nothing to do but go on. There was no way I was going to walk back through the town, and nor was Emma, obviously. So we hoped we'd run into something eventually. A place called Ventassa or something like that was the next town, and for a while it looked like we were going to be bypassing that when the path swung left. We'd done nearly 12 miles without a break, so we sat and took off our shoes and socks for an hour and a half, and eating and having a couple of small beers. We both had a mixed salad or salad mixture and patata bravas, I think it's called, which is basically roast potatoes with ketchup and mayo. It really hit the spot, I can tell you. And we were just tired. Now, we don't normally book ahead, but I decided to do so. I don't know why, really, but we snagged the last 2 beds in a room for 8 people at an auberge, which was really lucky. Because when we eventually got there, we saw several of our fellow hikers turning up at the auberge, unable to get in. So we were really glad we'd booked. So with 6 miles to go from Vitassa, I think it was, the path led us through vineyards and olive trees, and from time to time we take a grape or two, and they were so beautifully sweet. It got to be a very hot afternoon. Funnily enough, we were in Rioja country, and Rioja was always my favourite Spanish wine. And this place said, come in, buy a flagon of wine. This like kind of leather pouch thing you wear across your chest. which didn't strike me as a great idea on a hot afternoon. So we didn't partake. Once we were in Najera, we ran into a fellow pilgrim who had clearly taken advantage of this not to be missed offer. And as he hailed us, he admitted to being utterly bombed. He was walking, well, he was staggering really. But he seemed to be having a good time. And the last time we saw him, he was heading in another direction, having passed his auberge and was now returning. It was very hot today, but we were grateful to have completed 18 miles. So if you listen to what we said yesterday, we were going to need to do 15.45 miles a day to get there on the 10th of November, which means 25 days, and means we now have a credit of 2.55 miles, which means we're going to get to Santiago that much quicker. We're now at mile 117.9 after day 9, precisely back on schedule for the 34-day plan, and now really going for our 32-day plan. The life of a pilgrim. So, once again, it's a short show, just 3 days and no interviews, but hopefully you're enjoying learning about what the Camino's like and you're getting some sort of feel from it. I'm recording this out in the open air right now, in a park, and it's beautiful here. And the whole, we've had great weather. We've been on this for 9 days. We had a bit of rain one day going into a town. We took the day we had really bad weather, we took off. So I think we're managing our hike pretty well so far. The test is going to come when we get really bad weather. And so far, today was another day in the 70s, which is about, 20 degrees, I think, centigrade. Yeah, 72 Fahrenheit is 20 degrees centigrade. And we're eating well. We're having a drink of something at every single bar we go past, which is kind of fun. In common with pretty much every other pilgrim as well. So I wouldn't say we were drinking more or less than anybody else, but we're having a really nice time, and hopefully there'll be 4 more days for you to catch up on Monday's episode. But for now, Emma and I will see you next time.